Welcome to another in our series of X2 CRM training videos. My name is Tom Carroll, and I'll be your trainer for today's session. And this is the third in the series of our basic user training. And today we're going to talk about getting started using X2 CRM for your customer relationship management. In other words, the sales process. We covered in the first couple of sessions the how to get around in X2, what the grid view is like with the dashboard, the detail records within a module. But today we're going to talk a little more philosophical about how you want to use the system, and then we'll take that down into the details of how to use it and how you want to get going. So we're going to go over a little bit of overview of that sales management, and we'll review particularly the contacts, accounts, leads, and opportunities module. And then we'll also talk about the action modules, which come into play with all of those other ones. So without further ado, let's get started. As usual, when you log in, you see the dashboard of the system. And across the top, you have access to the different modules within the system. So again, today I'm going to focus on the contacts, accounts, leads, and opportunities. So when you think about your sales process within your organization, there's a couple of different ways that X2 can handle it. And we give you a lot of flexibility in doing that, with the goal being to minimize the amount of keystrokes that you need to do to keep track of your leads and your prospects and your opportunities. So there's a couple decisions you want to make as far as how you want to work with the system. In a traditional kind of sales process, you have leads coming into the system, and those leads, you'll begin to work and contact them and go through a process to determine, is there anything here as far as potential customer? At certain point, you qualify that lead and you turn them either into a contact, or you may create an opportunity off of that lead, or you might do both. And from there, you're going to work the opportunity through to hopefully fruition. They become a customer. At the time of customer, they certainly will be a contact within the system. So within X2, you could work everything traditionally like that. Have a lead becomes a contact, lead creates an opportunity, and accounts are essentially companies that contacts are related to. But you could also do everything within contacts. So let's talk about that a little bit. Now, within X2, leads, again, are designed to kind of begin the process. And if we look at a lead record, if I click on the name, we're going into the lead detail as we went over in our last session. Now, right here, we don't have a lot of fields to begin with in the lead record. And you may just, when a lead is created, you may just have a name and an email, or a name and an email and phone number, or any combination of those. And you then are going to begin to go through a process to move them along in your sales process. Now, remember that X2 is highly customizable, that any of these field names can be changed, additional fields can be added, fields can be moved around within this area. So don't be stuck on what you see right now that are in the system. It can be totally customized to the way that you do business. So let's think through the process that comes in. Let's say we just had some contact with Juan Valdez through Facebook, and we got his basic information into the system. And you might have done that by clicking on create lead and just entering all of that information into the system. And once you're finished with that, you click on create, and it will it will create that record for you then to work with. So now I've got Juan in the system, and I want to begin to work him and move him along the process. Now, one of the things that can aid you in that is this process engine that X2 has. Again, we covered that in the last section. So within our company, we've defined, here's the different steps. that we want to take this lead through. So they start as a lead. So we've got the basic information come in, and we're going to start this process. And what you want to do is, as you go through the steps in this process, you're going to record that moving on to the next step. Now that can be automated also, but just leave it right now that we've created a process to take a lead through. Now, as you're working them, you're accumulating different comments as far as having interaction. You might log some calls that you've had with them, time spent. You might create a calendar event. You might create an action which would follow up, a reminder to do something in the future. But at some point in time, you're going to get to the point of moving them along in the process. Now, that could take a couple of forms. One is from here, you could convert this whole lead just into an opportunity. In our system, when you do that here, Juan's going to go away and it's going to turn it into an opportunity, and you'll work it then in the opportunity module. Notice we have a bunch of opportunities here already established. If I click into one, again, the setup is similar. We've got the detail information, but the information you're keeping is specific to opportunities. And again, this can be expanded on. It can change the names of the fields and continue on from there. So once it turns into an opportunity, at this point, we now begin to focus in on what is this worth to the company? And we've actually put in a quote amount. Now, we may have created a quote, which you can do within the system. Or you may have just estimated that that's what we're looking at as far as what this opportunity is worth to the system, worth to the company. And now you can follow through, and now you can enter information against the opportunity as opposed to the individual. And as you work them along, from there, it's easy then to create reports for management as far as forecasting is concerned and see where everything is at with the sales opportunities. Here at a glance, you can see where the opportunities are. You can organize by or sort by probability and look at the most likely candidates to begin with, and then dive down into the detail. So that's one way to approach it. It starts as a lead, it turns into an opportunity. Now, that lead, you also might, instead of turning it right into an opportunity, you may at some point determine that this has now become a contact, and I'm going to then work it as a contact. Now, to do that, I can click on Convert to Contact here with Juan, and we've taken that information from the lead module and created a contact for Juan, and all that information has been transferred over, and including all the steps, the activities we've had, the interactions we've had with this particular lead. But now it shows up in the contact list. There's Juan. And now we're going to work them as far as a contact is concerned. Now, from a contact, we can create an opportunity off of the contact and have it associated with it and do the same types of things. But typically, you look at contacts from a more longer term working relationship with your company. Now, Juan is going to be associated with a particular company. He's with Vortex Tours. Um, and we can put him in the system that way by simply beginning to type the name. Because Vortex is already in the system, it will find it in the account module and bring it in and show it has a relationship down here with that company. So that's the association of contacts and accounts. You think of accounts as the business entities that you're working with or have some kind of connection with, and the contacts are individuals. Contacts may be employees of the company or connected to the companies in some way. If I take a look at one account that I know has several contacts and click on account, and I go to relationships, look of all of these contacts in the system that are connected somehow with example company, probably being employees or something like that. So those are how the four modules interrelate and work with each other. But the whole idea is you want to qualify leads to see if there's a true business opportunity to be had, and then follow them up through the process to ultimately become customers. Now, ways to identify that. Well, first of all, let's take a step back and talk about if you don't want to. You could do everything within instead of starting as a lead, you could start as a contact. Notice in contacts we have a little section for sales and marketing. And this has things like deal status, lead source, lead type. Um, so you could follow everything through here in contacts and not even work with the lead module if you don't want to. So you want to determine in your business model how best you want to utilize the system. Now, one benefit of working with leads in the lead module is that you may get a bulk leads in, maybe from a trade show, maybe from a lead list. And these are really just names. You don't know if there's anything there. And instead of having that be included in all your contacts, you want to qualify them a little bit before you then bring them in as contacts. So that's a good reason to use the leads module. So to import leads, uh, it needs to be a CSV file. And as you click on that, you choose the file. Once the file is chosen, you're able to map the information into the system. And you can bulk import a series of leads that are in that CSV file. Now you have, let's say, 50 more leads in here to begin to work. You can also export leads out to CSVs. And you can create lists by which you want to create an email campaign out to begin to contact these lists, these leads, and begin to work them. And creating a list is I click on list over on the left-hand side, and then I create a list, and I would give it a name, just call it demo, and then I can begin to specify what are those things I want to go after. Maybe I want to look at it in a particular city equals a certain value. I'm going to use Denver. You can add different attributes that maybe you want it coming from a particular lead source. So the lead source is, what did we get from Facebook? Um, and once then we create that, it's going to look through. In this case, I'm not finding anything because I only have 2 records. But the point being is you can create the lists. And now that it's there, that's going to be dynamic. And any lead that comes in that meets that criteria will show up on that list and can be used later in a marketing campaign. So those are a couple of reasons why you may want to start with entities coming into the system as a lead. In contacts, we can also import directly into contacts. We can create lists off of contacts. So we can really market in any part of the system for that. But again, you want to determine how your organization wants to work. Now, once again, they become opportunities. This is where it gets down to a little more of the nitty gritty. You're beginning to identify what economic opportunity is this for the company. But it's the same thing. You can create lists off of opportunities and do some email campaigns to certain segment of those. And so you want to you want to think through how you want to do that. Now, in helping you along, let's say as you're working the leads and you're contacting them and having conversations along with all that different interaction. One of the things I mentioned is you can create an action on a lead or a contact or an account or an opportunity. So I want to create an action to follow up. So follow up. I'm going to make a due date of this. It allows you to set a due date. And I'm going to say I need to do that by next week, first of next week, morning. I can create a priority here. Let's say it's going to be medium. I can assign it to somebody else too. If I'm not the one to follow up, maybe I made the initial contact with them, but I want to have another rep follow up. Choose what rep to do that, but I'm going to keep it just associated with me. Now, I also can send it to the calendar. I can put it on my calendar. I can put it on anybody else's calendar. And I can also create a reminder that at a certain amount of time before that action is due to give me a reminder. Let's say I'm going to do it just an hour before, and I'm going to save it. Now, this can be very handy in your whole sales process. So I want to talk about actions a little bit here. Again, the whole idea is think about a reminder system. And if I go over to the dashboard, so as I log in to begin with, I can see in this widget here, these are the actions that are going to be due or overdue up to today's date. And that's going to be screaming out at me, this is what I need to attend to. If you remember from our prior trainings, that we also have this hidden column over here that we can bring in. Notice here, it says I have 3 total actions and 3 are incomplete. And this is just showing all of the actions that are within the system. So I'm going to go and click on these, which will take me to the actions module where it keeps track of all of those actions that are in the system. And these are my actions. I'm now going to get rid of that other column. And I can look through, and here's my due date coming up. So every day when I come in, I can be viewing what is it that I have due today? What have I not attended to? What do I have coming up in the future? So here's that call that I made for next Monday. If we take a look at it, we've got that subject and the description, who we're working with, who we need to follow up with. It's assigned to me, the due dates, the create dates. If I want to, so I might look at this and say, okay, no, I know I need to call Mary at 9 o'clock on the first. When it comes that time, I can go from my actions and click right into Mary's information. And if I am connected to my calling system, I can click here and call, or I'm dialing the phone and making that call. And then I'm going to record what I find out from that call, probably in the log call area. Now, maybe I'm making that call and she is not there. I'm going to just very quickly make a notation that I left the voicemail and it's recorded in the system. It's going to come down here in our journal view that I left the voicemail, and also in our list view that I made that call. And then I can go on and either go back to my actions and see what else I have on. If I get all my actions, I have to do from my actions, or go on to the next thing that I want to do. But the idea here is that actions allow you to really keep track of things, schedule things out in the future that you don't want to fall through the cracks, and make sure that you're staying on top of things. Now, you also might want to use the capability here of following through on it, that you want to mark those complete so they go off of your calendar or off of your action list. Remember over here, when it showed my actions, it said 3 complete actions. Well, that'll stay incomplete until I go ahead and do and complete it. So that's as simple as I can make notes here and it will stay on that file. I can mark complete and we'll do that. I can do complete and create a whole new action for that. But again, the whole idea is to help you stay on top of the things that you have to do. If we look a little closer at the actions module, if we're just working with the module in and of itself, independent of just the individuals that associated with it. Here I'm looking at everybody's actions in the system. Now, if I don't have permission to look at other people's, I won't see that here. It may be just my actions, but in the way positions are set up here, I can see everybody's. And I can filter in different ways. So right here, I'm looking at all the incomplete ones. I can look at things that are overdue, I can look at things that are complete, or I can look at everything that's in the system. And I can look at everybody's. I might want to focus in probably on just mine. I also can just look at today's actions. I don't have anything scheduled for today, so those are blank. And from here, I can even create an action. I might have a thought while I'm in the system that, oh, I need to call so and so. So I can go through the subject and the action description. And then also from any of the modules, I can pick that association is that individual. So let me type in a Mary. I can do a due date and follow through with the rest of that. And one other thing to kind of tie that together is let's take a quick look at the calendar. So under the More button here, we've got the calendar module. It's going to bring up the current month. As I scroll down a little bit, here's the call at 9 a.m. to Mary Roman that I set up. And this is another way that you may start your day. You may come into your calendar and see, okay, these are the things that are on my calendar today. Here's the times that are going to take place. So I could click on that. I can, viewing the lead, I can view the lead and we'll go right into, again, her detail record. I can record everything that happened here. And I can then finish out that call and save it and keep track of that within the system. So that's another way to approach it. But the whole idea is to keep everything organized around the entity you're dealing with. In this case, it's the lead of Mary Roman. Could be a contact, could be account, could be an opportunity. But they all do tie together. We talked about this relationship widget. So any entity, an entity is a contact, it's an account, it's a lead, it's an opportunity, can be associated with anything else. So in this case, this lead is associated to example company. And if I go to example company, I can also see all the activities of anybody associated. Notice here's that call that because I specified I want to see the activity of the relationships underneath the company, even so that lead for Mary Roman shows up associated with the company. So I can see all the activities of individuals that are associated with this company in one place. So what we've covered today is the whole idea of how you want to organize your sales efforts within X2. What we first really recommend is that when you create a lead or a contact, depending on which way you want to work it, that you establish what are the processes that you want to take people through when you're working with them. So you establish a process, you work them through the different steps. When you've completed a step, you're going to go on to the next step. You complete that step, go on to the next step. And that's a way to keep you on track. And it's also a way for management to view where are different leads and contacts within the system. And it helps them keep people on track also. Once you've established that, and then you're beginning to work and record all the activities going on, you can easily email out from here as part of your activity, up the email and send that out. So you determine how you want to work them. And as you do that, you move them along the process. And ultimately, the whole idea is once we get to opportunities, we want to go ahead and have it get to the point where the sales stage is going to turn into one. And that's the whole goal. So hopefully this session has been instrumental in how what we've covered again is we've talked about the different modules that are involved in the whole sales process. We've reviewed the contacts, accounts, leads, and opportunities. We've talked about the action module and how that comes into play, and how they all work together to help you make it very easy to bring new entities into the system, to work them through the process, to ultimately come to success and make them a customer in and doing that with the least amount of keystrokes and be able to stay on top of things at any given time.